Hello, my friend. I'm so excited to dive into this week's podcast episode for you on this week's astrology. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a huge week for you with the solar eclipse in Virgo. In this week's episode, I'll be diving deep into the transits of this week for you. I will also be looking at this solar eclipse in Virgo chart for you and what to expect. I will then share how to rewrite your narrative of your life using astrology, using your birth chart. I think this is a really juicy topic for this week. And then I will end off this podcast episode with a tarot reading of what energy to embrace, what energy to let go of. So let's just dive right into it. Starting off with September 16th, we have Mars in Libra opposing Chiron in Aries. This is a very sensitive day. I want to give you a heads up on this. This is a very sensitive day in terms of relationships, in terms of old wounds coming up for you to heal, in terms of your sense of worthiness. I think a relationship this day could potentially trigger you, and it could potentially reveal what still needs to be healed through, what still is a bit sensitive, a bit tender. I think we could have a lot of people this day reacting in big ways based on their emotions, based on how they process their emotions. This feels as though there's something here where we are not seeing someone. There's this energy of being in a relationship or partnership. This doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. However, this is a day where you could feel like you're not being seen in a relationship. So I think we're going to have some conversations around this. Luckily, we do have some support this day with other planets, which is Venus in Leo trying to Chiron in Aries, and then Venus in Leo is also sextile to Mars in Libra. So yes, there can be some tension with a particular relationship or collaboration, business partnership that comes up for you. However, your values are still very aligned, or even if they're not aligned to this person, you're sticking to your values. This is also you standing up for yourself in terms of how you respect yourself. This is also you in a place of aligning your actions to your values. May this be through something artistic, may this be through self-expression, authenticity, in a way that allows you to see yourself and acknowledge yourself in this process. This honestly looks like a day that's actually quite helpful for a photo shoot. This also looks like a day that can be really beneficial in terms of an interview or expose around being vulnerable, being seen, or just expressing your authenticity. So I see this day as, yes, this trigger is coming up in some way, yet you're sticking to your values in a way that feels aligned, that feels as though you're showing up for yourself no matter what that looks like. On September 17th, we have Mercury in Virgo opposing Saturn in Pisces. So this is a tricky day. This feels a bit uncomfortable, especially around our communication. You could have a conversation with someone and there can be a bit of tension here. Maybe someone's not seeing eye to eye to you, or you could potentially feel like you have to have this serious conversation with a boss, with a mentor, or a therapist, potentially. This looks like a day where you're getting this realization or reality check by someone. And this is still very helpful if there's something here where you're realizing, okay, do I need to navigate my daily routine, my schedule, and these partnerships, these collaborations in a different way? This could look like having a difficult conversation with a therapist or a mentor or someone that is this emotionally spiritual partnership. And it's helping you realize your own communication style in a different way. Like, what do you do when you're confronted with a hard conversation? How do you approach it? This is the day to kind of witness this and see this. However, there's still some very lovely support this day. You're still gonna feel yesterday's Venus in Leo, sextile to Mars in Libra, and Venus in Leo trine Chiron in Aries. So even though this conversation is coming up for you, there's a lot of healing potential here. So keep this in mind. And I also want you to acknowledge the importance of difficult conversations, even if it's hard, because sometimes we just need to have an open dialogue from a place that is really seeking curiosity from the other person. Keep this in mind. I also want to share that Mercury will be at 29 degrees this day. So I will say that some people are keeping receipts with Mercury in Virgo. Some things from the past can potentially come up because of this, because Virgo is very organized. I would say I have Mercury in Virgo. I do keep receipts. So this is just something to be aware of. Then on September 18th, we have Mercury in Virgo opposing Neptune in Aries. So we're continuing this conversation. This could be with the same person, it could be with a different person, but there's some confusion here. Someone might not be fully understanding what is currently happening. You could feel like you're being misunderstood by another person. You could feel like someone's gaslighting you, potentially. Please keep this in mind, because this isn't the day for some really clear conversation. This is the day for empathetic, compassionate conversations. Yet, because of this opposition to Neptune, there's something here where maybe someone's not fully seeing the full picture of a situation. So be aware of this. Mercury then enters Libra later on this day. So with Mercury entering Libra, our conversations, how we communicate, how we think, we're gonna be more relationship focused. And this actually looks very beneficial to patching things up with someone or to see the other perspective. Where is that person coming from? I think Mercury in Libra isn't often talked about. And I personally love Mercury in Libra because with Mercury in Libra, we're really focused on seeing another perspective. We're really focused on how to be there for another person and what the other person is feeling, where they're coming from. So even though you could have been having these difficult conversations earlier on this week, with Mercury in Libra, I do think this is going to be patched up, or at least people are going to be a bit more kinder and be in a place of understanding where you're coming from, even if they don't agree with you. So this looks actually pretty beneficial. Now on September 19th, we have Venus entering Virgo. And Venus is traditionally uncomfortable in the sign of Virgo. Venus is what we value. It's how we show love and affection. And as someone who has Venus in Virgo, I think Venus in Virgo has a bad rep, because Venus in Virgo is going to help you be more discerning with your energy, who deserves your love, who deserves your attention. Venus in Virgo is more so this realistic sense of approaching relationships. So if we compare it to the energy, for example, of Venus in Pisces, where Venus is in its exaltation, meaning that it loves being in that sign, Venus in Pisces is more dreamy, it's more optimistic, it's very much head in the clouds, rose-colored glasses. And Venus in Virgo, being the opposite of this in its fall, this is an energy of understanding that, okay, yes, there's this dream, but are you going to back it up? Is someone just saying all these words? Are there any actions aligned to these values? Are there any actions aligned to these words? We have to kind of consider that Virgo is ruled by Mercury. So because of this, Venus in Virgo really values communication that is not only practical, but also communication where we see actions that align to this, such as acts of service. So keep this in mind, because I actually really do like Venus in Virgo. Yes, it can still feel a little bit, trickier because people might not feel as optimistic about a relationship. People are potentially getting into relationships and realizing, okay, wait, I have to really pay attention to the red flags. Or I am seeing these red flags now after being a bit more in this optimistic, passionate energy with Venus in Leo that we just had. So I still think Venus in Virgo is going to be really helpful for us collectively. It's a very thoughtful energy, and I think that in itself can be really beneficial because when Venus is in Virgo, we're really trying to be of service to other people. We're really trying to see, okay, how can I help the people around me? How can I show them that love in a very practical way? And also, how can I be more practical with my finances? How can I save more? How can I, thrift my outfit instead of buying it brand new, for example? That's where we kind of see the Venus and Virgo energy. On the same day, we have Mercury in Libra, sextile to Uranus in Gemini. This is more fun. I will say, I think this is a day where you could have a surprise conversation with a friend, with someone you know. This looks like you can get some good ideas from a friend or a collaborator, a coworker. This feels very enlightening. You can get an epiphany. This actually is a great day to go to protests for Free Palestine, to share your voice, to share your perspective. This also looks like a great day to go to a community event because Mercury in Libra is also trine to Pluto in Aquarius. So I think you could have some really intense, empowering conversations around the revolution. You could have some very intense conversations that give you some big breakthroughs around your relationships, how you are choosing your friends, how you are showing up in community. So this looks very, very supportive. I think there's going to be some great energy this day. Again, Venus in Virgo, I think we're not going to feel it as this uplifting energy. This is more so a come down to earth type of energy where you could just get more serious about how you are approaching your dating life. And if you're in a serious relationship, this is more so, okay, how can I check in with someone today? What are the practical things we need to do today? Can we go grocery shopping together, for example? Now, on September 21st, we have this solar eclipse in Virgo. This is big. This is huge. This solar eclipse in Virgo is happening at 19 degrees. It's also happening at 3:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what's really important to note with this is the ruler of this eclipse is Mercury and Libra. So with Mercury and Libra being the ruler, relationships are going to be at the forefront for us during this eclipse. We're trying to really have these brand new beginnings in our relationships. May this be a romantic relationship, business partnership, friendship, community, endeavor, for example. Pay attention to what happens for you now. And I will say this solar eclipse in Virgo does take us back to 2015 to 2017. So go think back to what was happening for you during that time. This eclipse is showing you the 180 perspective from that time period. Solar eclipses are brand new beginnings, whereas when we just had that lunar eclipse in Pisces, that was a closing of a chapter. So yes, this is a brand new beginning for you. And this is actually our second new moon in Virgo of this year. We just had a new moon in Virgo on August 23rd. Yet this is going to be a continuation of that story for you. So go back to see what was happening for you a month ago around August 23rd. Was everything resolved during that time? Did anything come up for you that you felt like you still need to finish? This is the time for that. Now, I know I mentioned we're having these difficult conversations with authority figures at the beginning of the week, with Mercury opposing Saturn. During this solar eclipse, we're still kind of having these conversations because the sun is opposing Saturn. So with this energy, you could feel like you have to set a boundary with someone. During this time, you could feel like, oh my goodness, someone is blocking me from expressing myself. You could feel as though you're a bit confused about the situation as well, because the sun is also opposing Neptune in Aries at 0 degrees. So there's a situation here that can feel a little bit intense. It could feel like you have to have this difficult conversation with someone, or you have to meet with someone, and it just feels like there's a lot of pressure. Now, we do still have some good support with this solar eclipse. We have the sun in this trine to Uranus in Gemini, and the moon in a trine to Uranus in Gemini. So we have some unexpected help. May this be from a friend, may this be from our community, may this be from a sibling. This feels like there's something here where you could get an epiphany about what's happening for you. You can get an idea that helps you think outside the box. You could feel like, okay, yes, this tense situation is happening for me, but my friend just spontaneously invited me out so we could talk about these things. We can talk this through. I can have a different perspective. I can feel very supported in this way. Now, I will say that this is a very uncomfortable new beginning for you. And I also say this because Mars in Libra will be in the square to Pluto in Aquarius. So there's something here where your relationships could also be impacting your other relationships. You could feel like your collaboration with someone else is affecting your community, or vice versa. You could just feel as though there's something here where potentially you feel overwhelmed with how many interactions you're having with other people. You could also just feel like exhausted this day. I will mention this with Mars at 29 degrees of Libra. You could feel like you've overbooked yourself in terms of commitments, especially when it comes to friendships, when it comes to business collaborations, when it comes to dating, when it comes to other types of partnerships. You could feel exhausted. Okay, so if you're listening to this earlier on, I highly recommend to not overbook yourself this day, because you could just feel a bit of this push-pull energy. You could feel stretched thin with Mars at 29 degrees. Because Mars is traditionally uncomfortable in the sign of Libra, this is also not helping the situation, because when people feel burnt out with Mars in Libra, this can come off as passive aggressiveness. You could feel as though other people could be a bit more passive aggressive during this time. You could feel like other people are being a bit more manipulative. Keep this in mind because of that Pluto energy as well. You could feel like there's this power dynamic that's taking place where you're trying to change a power dynamic, but you're being confronted head on and realizing, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. This is stressing me out. I don't feel like I'm having any control of this situation. So even though we have some really, really lovely support with the solar eclipse, we do have these hard aspects taking place. So this is the time for self-care. This is the time to lean on your friendships, lean on people that you really love, that you really care about, because there is something here that you're learning about a relationship pattern, especially around communication. And I say this because, again, the ruler of this solar eclipse is Mercury in Libra. So go check back to see what was happening for you between 2015 to 2017. And similar themes are coming up for you now. If you want help with this, if you want to really discover your eclipse story, you can come join me in the Moon Sign Creative Community for our Eclipse Revelations event. Replays are available if you can't make it live. We're going to go through some very specific dates from 2015 to 2017. We're going to connect the dots And we're gonna just share in community what comes up for us so that you can make some big breakthroughs from that time period so that you can be better prepared from now until 2027, because we're gonna have these eclipses until 2027. So this is very pivotal. I will say this because, again, eclipses are new moons and full moons on steroids. So yes, eclipse season is a lot more chaotic than regular seasons. Eclipse seasons want you to pay attention to what needs to leave your life and what new beginning needs to take place. What have you been avoiding? And I say what you have been avoiding because Mars in Libra could potentially avoid conflict, yet it's not going to help the situation right now. Keep this in mind. I'm saying this as a Libra rising, so please keep this in mind. Now, again, I do want to mention, even though we have these tricky aspects, we do have this support that we still had from previous lunations, which is Uranus in Gemini in a trine to Pluto in Aquarius, Pluto in Aquarius in a sextile to Neptune in Aries, and also in a sextile to Saturn in Pisces. We also have Uranus in Gemini in this sextile to Neptune in Aries, and also to Saturn in Pisces. So what this means is the outer planets are forming this really lovely support system for us in terms of how we are connecting to our community, how we are connecting to our spirituality in terms of our sense of self, and what this means for us to show up in a more compassionate, empathetic way for the people in our life. How we have support from our friends, how we have support from our local community, but also our community overseas. So keep this in mind. So again, not only are these eclipses taking us back to 2015 to 2017, they're also taking us back to March of 2025 and also September 2024. So that is when we also had eclipses on the Pisces Virgo axis. Feel free to share down below what was happening for you, because I'd love to see it. I'd love to see you make these big connections to those time periods, because that is how you kind of connect the dots to see your eclipse story. And if you want help again for this, then I'll leave a link to the Eclipse Revelations event with the Moon Sign Creative Community down below. It's happening on Monday, September 22nd at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Replays are available if you can't make it live. And I honestly have one of the best communities out there because everyone is so sweet, so kind, so empathetic. I love all of us sharing in community because not only do you get a mini reading from me in terms of what's happening with this lunation in your chart, but you also get a ritual at the end where we all come together. So I'm super, super excited for this event. I hope to see you there. And those are the major transits of this week for you, friend. Let me know in the comments what's been happening for you. If you made it this far in the video, please like, comment, and subscribe because it really does help me out. And comment down below sunflower, just so that I know you've made it this far. In this week's episode, I wanted to touch on how to rewrite your narrative using your birth chart, because this is such a juicy topic in terms of understanding your life, how to really get to that dream life you want to create for yourself, what that looks like for you, and how to not let the past define your future, which I feel like we can often get stuck in. Now, this idea came to me this week because it's made me realize how much I had to overcome to be so persistent towards my dreams. And I'm saying this because I know for myself, a lot of people who have kind of been through the same trauma as me, it has taken them time to heal. It takes people a lot of time to heal, and not everyone does the healing work. So there are some people who never do the healing work that we have to acknowledge, and they can be in the same place as they were 20 years ago. There's a lot of people like that. And we kind of have to see this and realize, okay, how do I not get stuck in that cycle. For myself, I know for me, I feel like it's taken me a very, very long time to build a life I love. And the biggest barrier for me, though, for the amount of time it took, because for me, it feels like it's been a long time. However, some people might not see that, right? Not everyone sees the hard work you put into things, because not everyone sees the mindset work you're doing, the astrological work you're doing, the therapy work you're doing, the somatic healing work you're doing. Not everyone will see the inner work you're doing, and that's okay. It's for yourself. I know for myself, it was me recognizing, okay, it was when my breakup happened in 2019 that I had this earth-shattering experience of, wow, I really thought I was going to marry this person. I still believe they were my soulmate, but again, my definition of soulmate is more so you're meant to meet a specific person for a specific reason. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're meant to be with them. And that relationship for me helped me understand, oh, okay, I've been sacrificing myself. I've been sacrificing my dreams. I'm in this codependent relationship that I thought was what I wanted, because if I just make this person happy, then that's going to make me happy. And again, it doesn't work that way. It does not work that way. So when that breakup happened, it was a big shock to me during my nodal opposition. And for myself, it was looking at my birth chart that really helped me understand, okay, there's a lot I'm learning here about relationships this lifetime, because my chart ruler is Venus in Virgo retrograde. And I think the chart ruler is such an important part of your chart to really deeply understand, because that is the major theme of your life. Understanding your theme of your life is going to help you understand the lessons you occur this lifetime. It's going to help you understand why it's important for you. And for myself, with Venus in Virgo retrograde, Venus is uncomfortable in the sign of Virgo. It's also retrograde, meaning that there's a lot here from past lives, from old karma that I'm still healing from in terms of relationships, in terms of money, in terms of my values. And what's important for this is understanding that if you have Venus as a chart ruler, a lot of the lessons you're learning this lifetime are around your self-worth and self-value. How can you give yourself that validation, that love, without seeking it from someone else? That is huge. That is really, really big. Now, in my birth chart, I also have a 12th house stellium in whole sign. I look both at whole sign and Placidus. I always start off in Placidus because I feel like that resonates with me a lot. However, I do resonate with my Virgo stellium. So I have Mercury, Mars, and Venus in Virgo. I do resonate with my Virgo stellium in both my 11th and 12th house. So it's in my 11th house in Placidus and my 12th house in whole sign. So for me, it's been me understanding, okay, a lot of my life, my biggest barrier is my mind. It's myself. It's me understanding and not overthinking a certain situation. I can get lost in the past a lot, more so because of my South Node in Virgo and my moon conjunct my South Node in Virgo, because your South Node, again, is where you get trapped this lifetime. I go through this very in depth in my Finding Your Fulfillment course. That was something I had to really, really learn. Yet, for myself, the idea of rewriting your narrative, that is something that I've always knew. However, I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to follow through with it. And I realized this year, this every single year, I want to say, after my Saturn return, because my Saturn return was still hard. My nodal opposition, again, controversial opinion, was still harder than my Saturn return. Yet my Saturn return, very difficult, huge reality check. Yet it gave me the discipline to show up, even if no one's listening to me, even if I'm showing up for myself. It gave me the courage to go after what I want, even if it's going to take me years. That is the benefit of Saturn if you really listen to Saturn's lessons. So rewriting my narrative has been a theme for me where I've gone through a lot of pain and hurt, not only from my breakups, but more so understanding that I had to go through those relationships because they connected to my relationship to my father, who passed away when I was 11. And that in itself was probably the hardest thing I've gone through because my dad was my favorite person in my life. He was a Cancer sun, I'm a Cancer moon, and I had this very strong connection to him because he really saw me for who I was. He really encouraged me to pursue something artistic, to pursue what I loved. And for myself, knowing that a lot of people I looked up to, may this be in terms of not only artists or designers at this time before I launched my astrology practice, but more so business owners, entrepreneurs. I didn't see too many entrepreneurs who have gone through the same kind of trauma I've gone through. I haven't seen too many business owners lose so much at a young age. So there are still a lot, I will say that. There's still a lot that you have to kind of seek and find. But for myself, losing my father at that age made me constantly seek external validation from not only male figures, but also other people. I was just seeking this validation to feel that love, to feel that support. And I kind of see, that painful situation for me in my chart of Chiron opposing Saturn in Aquarius for me. Though a lot of people have this in their chart, if you were born, in that year, but also different years as well. This is more so a wound around the father figure, or it doesn't necessarily have to be your father figure. It could be a mother figure, but maybe perhaps you grew up in a household that was a bit more strict, yet maybe you grew up in a household where you didn't really get the same type of authority figure that you thought you would. Like a father figure that was helping you set a good amount of discipline in your life, right? Because sometimes we have to really understand the importance of Saturn too, because Saturn just wants you to understand the reality of the world and how to take ownership and accountability for your life. So for myself, I loved this idea, this dream that I can really manifest anything I want in my life. I can really do whatever I want in my life. And so many people are so afraid to go after their dreams. They're so afraid to go after what they want in terms of their career, in terms of the love that they're seeking. So I want you to dive deep into your birth chart to see these patterns in your life, because honestly, it's changed my life. Because understanding, for example, my chart ruler, but also my 12th house stellium around me being my own obstacle. How am I self-sabotaging? That's what I really saw in my birth chart, because it was me telling myself these stories that things had to be a certain way, or it's never going to happen for me. It could happen for other people, but it can't happen for me. Let me know if you have that one, because that one's big, right? Or people are so special, what about me? There's certain things here where when you really focus on certain placements in your chart, you're able to realize these are actually gifts. The ways you self-sabotage, the painful parts of your chart, are actually ways and gateways to your fulfillment, to more flow, to more peace, to more excitement in your life. And for myself, recognizing that, yes, my chart ruler is Venus in Virgo retrograde. There's something here where I'm learning a lot about my self-worth and self-value. And I do feel like this is the most I've ever loved myself. I feel like even though I'm single, I'm leading a very fulfilling life. And what's really helped me through this is understanding the power of affirmations for myself. It's understanding themes and rituals and how I can optimize routine for my life so that I can feel my best. That has been a game changer for me. So not only do I focus on that, because my Virgo stellium, I've realized when going deep into it, I needed to cut out certain things in my lifestyle, such as alcohol. For me, I don't really drink anymore, so that I could prioritize more so things that really nourish me in a way that feels really, really good. And this isn't for everyone, right? So I want to mention this. It's more so what your body needs. For me, prioritizing daily movement. I've noticed too, the more I spend time outside, the more I walk every day, the happier I am. The more I journal every day, stay in that routine, the more I really give myself those affirmations. I've made overnight affirmations that have completely changed my life because they help you reprogram your subconscious mind. I do have those for free on YouTube. I'll link some of my favorites down below if you're interested. But those have really changed my life because I realized that a lot of my work in terms of rewriting my narrative, in terms of the dream life I'm looking for, my dream job for myself, for my business, I can't have that because I've gone through such hard, difficult trauma. I don't see anyone doing that who's been through what I've been through. The thing is, yes, you need to do the healing work. You need to move your body. You need to do somatic healing. You need to do the therapy. I will say, birth chart readings have been big breakthroughs for me, which is why I've gotten birth chart readings from so many different astrologers, because they've helped me a lot more than multiple therapy sessions. I will say that. However, I do recommend both because, again, therapy has really, really helped me in the past, but I had to go through years of therapy. So I will say that. But I want you to ask yourself, from all of this, in what ways are you limiting yourself based on your narrative? How can you focus on the hardest parts of your chart and how that's actually a blessing? What does that look like for you? Because for me, my Venus in Virgo, yes, relationships have been hard for me. Yes, it's hard for me to flirt. It's hard for me to put myself out there. It's really difficult sometimes to visualize what my partner would look like, to visualize what kind of relationship I'll be in, because sometimes I'm like, I don't think that will happen for me. And then I have to stop myself and I'm like, no, of course this will happen for me. Of course I'll be in a loving relationship one day because I love myself so much. I've put so much work into myself, and it's going to happen at the most perfect time because I'm going to detach from the timeline. So you see what I did there? I rewrote that narrative. So I want you to rewrite your narrative right now for whatever you're going through, for whatever you're seeking. Stop focusing on the past. Focus on what you can control. This week's all about control. So focus on what you can control. Let go of what you can't. And if you want any help in deep diving into your birth chart, I have 2 spots left for September. I'm happy to help. I'll leave a link to that down below. And if you're celebrating a birthday, I am offering solar return birthday readings to get excited for your year ahead. I'll also leave a link to that down below. But I hope this helped, friend. I'm going to dive into your tarot reading for this week. All right, so the first card out is the Seven of Swords. There's someone here. I know I mentioned all this tension with a relationship. May this be, again, romantic relationship, business partnership, or friendship. Someone was not being honest with you. I'm going to say that right here. You're going to get more clarity on a situation, but someone might not have told you the full truth. That's what I'm seeing. Maybe someone withheld certain information from you, but you're going to see more of that now. You're going to see why this happened, or you're going to get a bigger sense of this storyline for yourself. We also got the Eight of Swords reverse. So this is a card to really let go of what's been in your mind. If you've been feeling super anxious, if you've been overthinking, this is a card to let go of your insecurities, to really pay attention to how can you declutter your mind. May this be through journaling, meditation, breath work, going for a walk, right? I see that you're working on this, which is great, but I want you to pay attention to how can you remind yourself, are you acting out of your insecurities? Are you acting from a place of anxiety? That was channeled. So make sure you are not acting from that place. You're not reacting to a certain situation, but you're giving yourself time to process. You're giving yourself time to heal. And if you need more time for a conversation, ask for that time. It's okay to ask for that, right? Ask if we can come back to this conversation tomorrow or later in the day if you feel like you're in a flight or fight mode. Remind yourself of this. We also got the Star card. So I do think this week, yes, there's some tension here. There's some hard conversations, but you're gonna really see some big vulnerability from not only yourself, but maybe someone close to you. I also see this as, this is a week where, yes, eclipses bring in fate and destiny. And I think this is going to shine a light onto your life path this week around, okay, what feels better for me? What feels more aligned for me? This is the week for that. So pay attention to see what's coming up for you this week. I really love the Star card. I think this is more so listening to your inner voice of going your own path, even if it's different, even if it's difficult. Remind yourself of this. The challenge this week is the Devil card. So there's some power struggles here. I do mention that this is a trickier week. Okay, I think everyone's going to be a little bit more anxious. People are going to be a bit more on edge. But I really see the Devil card as, it could feel a little bit codependent. It could feel like there's a shadow that's coming up, right? You could see a part of your shadow self, and this is the week to embrace it and accept that part of yourself. This is a week to witness in what ways are you subconsciously holding yourself back? In what ways are you telling yourself a story that is not true? How can you rewrite that narrative again? But the Devil card is the thing that is holding us back. May this be about our past. May this be about what's possible for us in the future. How can you stay present? I just want to ask you that. How can you stay more present in your body? And I asked us what would help us get through this challenge, and we got the Fool card. So the Fool card wants you to remind yourself of doing something new, having this fresh new beginning. How can you put yourself in a new situation that feels brand new, that feels exciting? Maybe this is checking out a new coffee shop. Maybe this is going a different path. May this be really putting yourself out there, launching your business if you've been nervous to. Maybe this is you kind of seeing, okay, what can I listen to in terms of my intuition of what next step I can take? But I love the Fool card because it is exciting, but the Fool wants you to act before you plan. And Virgo season just wants you to plan. So the Fool wants you to stop overthinking it, stop making it too complicated, and just take some action. I think that's a great reminder. Your oracle cards are Begin Again. So I love this. This is a fresh new beginning for you. Again, this is a brand new beginning for you wherever Virgo is in your chart. Pay attention to that. If you haven't checked out your VIP horoscope, go listen to that because I go through all the rising signs and sun signs in terms of that new beginning for you. You also got Coming Together. So this is the time to connect with people that you really care about. This is the time to see a different perspective and to really have that compassion and empathy. I really love this. I think this is a brand new beginning for you in terms of how you approach communication in relationships. The last card out is Reflect. So take some time to journal, to reflect on the past, to reflect on what you're rewriting in terms of your narrative, and what have you already accomplished? How far have you already come? How can you celebrate that? Remind yourself of this. But I really hope this helped, friend. Let me know in the comments below if this was helpful for you or what's been happening for you. I love to see it. And if you'd like a private session with me, I'll leave a link to that down below. If you want to join us for Eclipse Revelations with the Moon Sign Creative Community, I can't wait to see you there. I'll leave a link to that down below as well. Thank you again, and just remember, the universe has your back. And with peace and love, take care.